¿Qué tal, chicos? Bienvenidos a mi canal Español con Juani. Quick question, how would you say in Spanish, I have 2 months left until I go to Argentina? Do you know how to say this grammatically correct? And if I can offer you a clue, it's completely different to how we'd structure this in English. Now, if you're not sure exactly, don't worry, I'm going to show you exactly how to grammatically structure this phrase in Spanish. But first of all, why am I taking the time to show you this, and why would this be beneficial to your Spanish? Well, when you think about it, in English, how often do we say phrases like this? I have 2 weeks left until my exam, or I have 4 weeks left until I go to Europe, or I have 3 months left until I move to England. Do you see what I mean? First of all, here is an example of what not to say. So personally, I used to make this mistake all the time. If I wanted to say, I have 3 weeks left until I go to Europe, I used to say, tengo 3 semanas hasta yo voy a Europa. Now, unfortunately, as most of you have probably already learnt, word-for-word translations from English over into Spanish oftentimes don't work grammatically. So the next question is, how would we structure this phrase grammatically in Spanish? To say this in Spanish, we would use the verb quedar. So here's how you would say this in Spanish. I have 3 weeks left until I go to Europe. Me quedan 3 semanas para ir a Europa. Me quedan 3 semanas para ir a Europa. Let's take a closer look at this. So grammatically, you can see we have to start off by identifying the pronoun we're using. That's very simple because in this example, I'm talking about myself. So I say me. However, if you're talking about the person you're speaking to, you would say te as an example. So pretty simple. We then use quedar. Now we use quedan if the period of time we're talking about is plural. So in this example, it's 3 weeks, so we'd say quedan. However, if the period of time we're talking about is singular, like 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, we would say queda. So pretty simple so far. I hope you're following along. Me quedan 3 semanas. Then we would say para ir a Europa. So until I go to Europe. Now, if we circle back round to what I was saying before, if the example is singular, so if I were to say I have 1 week left until I go to Europe, I would say me queda una semana para ir a Europa. Me queda una semana para ir a Europa. So it's pretty simple. We either say queda if that period of time is singular in this example, or quedan if the period of time is plural, like in the last example. I hope that makes sense, but if it doesn't, don't worry, we'll go through a few more examples to help it sink in. If I wanted to say, I have 2 months left until I visit my family, how would you say that? You would say, me quedan 2 meses para visitar a mi familia. Me quedan 2 meses para visitar a mi familia. So you can see that grammatical structure. The pronoun first, we then either say queda or quedan, then the period of time, and then para, and then we just add on the verb after that, unconjugated, in its infinitive form. Nice work. Let's try another example, but this time in the du form, or talking about the person you're speaking to. So this time, how would you say? You have 5 days left until you go on holiday, don't you? You would say, te quedan 5 días para ir de vacaciones, ¿no? Te quedan 5 días para ir de vacaciones, ¿no? So you can see it's pretty simple. I just simply change that pronoun over to te if I'm speaking about the person you're speaking to, or you just change it around depending on who you're speaking about. Let's try another example. I have 3 months left until I move to France. Me quedan 3 meses para mudarme a Francia. Me quedan 3 meses para mudarme a Francia. Let's try another one, but this time in the él, ella, o usted form. My sister has 2 weeks left until she comes to Australia. Mi hermana le quedan 2 semanas para venir a Australia. Mi hermana le quedan 2 semanas para venir a Australia. Great work, everyone. Before we move on to my final test for you, just remember, if you are getting any value from these videos, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Now, before we finish up, I have one more test for you. If we circle back around to that question I asked you right at the beginning of the video, how would you say in Spanish, I have 2 months left until I go to Argentina? Let me give you 5 or 10 seconds. If you do need more time, feel free to hit pause on the video. You would say, me quedan 2 meses para ir a Argentina. Me quedan 2 meses para ir a Argentina. Nice work, everyone. If you got that right, that's great. Obviously, it means you are starting to understand how to form this grammatically in Spanish. If you're still making mistakes, or if it still doesn't quite make sense, remember, that's completely fine as well. It does take practice. So feel free to write out a few examples yourself on a piece of paper, or rewatch this video until it all clicks into gear for you. In the description box for you below as well, I will leave the exact structure of how to form this grammatically for you, if that helps. Don't forget as well, if I can help with any other questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment or a question in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Hasta pronto.